Them French boys make the boing boing noise, and today we talk about it. Well, hey there kids, it's good buddy, Uncle Ben, and you guys know that when those boys in Gojira make some new noise, I'm listening. Just like Fraser Crane. Amazonia is probably the most simple tune off their upcoming record that they've released, but it's still a ton of fun to play, so in today's video we're going to break it down riff by Tasty Riff. As always, downloadable tabs, backing tracks, bonus lessons, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff are available to everybody who supports my channel over on my Patreon page, patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. Sign up today even for the low cost of $1 a month, and you get access to those downloadable tabs as well as a bonus lesson showing you guys how to get the perfect Gojira pick scrape. All kinds of cool stuff is there waiting on you, so be sure to click the Patreon link in the video description below. Thanks. Gear-wise, you're going to need to find a super sexy guitar like this Dunable Cyclops right here and tune it down one whole step. I've got that running into an Airis effects parallel overdrive before it hits the front end of my REVV Generator 120. Okay, let's kick it off here with the intro riff, which goes like this. Boing, 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 boing. Now let's hear that riff again at stepdad speed. Boing, 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 boing. This is a really simple riff. It's all played on the open lowest string. We're going to be doing some bends here behind the nut. As you can see, the spacing between the nut and the tuning post on this guitar is a little bit tight, so I'm using that master Badio over the top technique. We're going for about a half step bend right here, so take a finger or two, slide it in, and apply some pressure. Just the way your mother likes it. Like this. Next, let's saddle up and talk about that verse riff, which features some epic gallops. Here's the riff at stepdad speed. So open position gallops here using our low D power chord, open on the low string, second fret on the fifth string. Now as you're galloping through those, I recommend using a really loose grip on the pick. I find that if you're holding the pick really tight while you're trying to gallop across two strings, it gets really stiff. You might even want to, apply an extra finger's worth of grip on the pick just to give you a little bit more stability. So this riff is almost just straight gallops the entire way through, but there's a couple points in here where they play two downstroke eighth notes in a row in between all the gallops and stuff. It's important to do these as downstrokes, that way you don't lose the groove in the right hand. So every time you play these, make sure they're James Hetfield approved downs. Riff is in two halves. First half features a couple of those eighth note downstroke parts, and it ends by going up here to the 12th fret and playing that note 3 times before you slide down. Now that last note that you played up there is actually the first note of phrase 2. So if I was going to play phrase 2, it would actually start with that note. Phrase number 2 only has one of those double eighth note downstrokes, and then it's just straight up gallops the rest of the way through, and ends with a single 12th fret note, which starts the next phrase. So you play phrase 1, phrase 2, phrase 1, and then phrase 2 again. Only in the first verse, that last phrase 2 that we're going to play has a little variation on it. I've seen in some people's covers, like Nick Nocturnal's, they went to just straight, quarter note downstrokes like that, which makes sense because that would reflect that quarter note pulse that we had in the first riff of the song. But I don't personally hear that going on in the mix. I'm pretty sure the guitars are still just galloping all the way through and just letting off the palm muting a little bit. I may be wrong about that because the mix on this is super dense, but when I listen to it, that's what I hear. So I'd play phrase 1. Phrase 2. One. Phrase 2. Kind of letting off that palm mute there at the end. Up next, we got a big ass chorus featuring some power chords. Let's check it out. Power chords themselves are pretty simple and feature a little bit of sliding action going on in between them. Let's check out the first set here. So you'll notice that last chord right there is like a big open position E major shape. D major because of the tuning, whatever. Now after they play that chord, there's a pretty gratuitous neck bend going on right here. I'm actually pushing the body in towards myself and pushing the neck out away from myself to kind of bend the strings and make them go slack like that. I could do it more, but I just don't really feel like, potentially damaging my instrument doing that. Don't go nuts with this. You could hurt something, A little push and pull is not going to really affect anything too bad, especially on like bolt-on guitars. They're a little bit more forgiving about this. Don't go crazy with it. Just get yourself a little shake. That's about all you need. I'll add too that this could be a little bit of studio trickery going on where they recorded a guitar with a tremolo doing a dive bomb on that chord. They could have also used maybe like a digitech whammy pedal just to knock it out of tune and go flat like that. Although the bend sounds kind of uneven and out of tune, which makes you think it's a neck dive or a bar. Next set of chords goes like this and has a couple of different endings through the song. So you can see there at the end, I just slipped to the 13th fret and applied some juicy vibrats. There's also another part in the song, I think in the second chorus, where it sounds like after he plays this F power chord down here, he kind of goes through that F major 7, sharp 11 kind of voicing that you get when you play 1, 3, 3, 2, open, open. So it sounds kind of like this. I may be going crazy and imagining things at this point because I've listened to the song so many times in a row to make this video, but I would almost swear that in that second set of chords, the one that starts up here at the 8th fret, it kind of sounds like one of the guitars is playing like this little major dyad on that chord, or maybe just like an octave harmony or something like that. It sounds like it goes back to power chords after that, but listen close and see if you can hear this. Just on those first 3 chords. Or maybe not. I've noticed that a couple times throughout the singles that they've released from this record. There's like a lot of little variations on the riffs like that, which I think is cool. It makes it a little bit more live sounding and kind of randomized than the typical ultra tight metal productions that we have today, where everything's played exactly the same way every time, probably because they're just copy and pasting parts. I like that little bit of variation that they add into these parts. It makes it sound real. After that, you got a shortened verse, the second chorus of the tune, which ends with a big old juicy pinch harmonic of the root note up an octave. It's either here on the 3rd fret 4th string or up here on the 8th fret 5th string. I'm not really sure. Anyway, after that, you go back to the boing boing riff that started the song, and to lead into the bridge, it ends with this simple 3-note figure that has a slight little slide here going on. Sounds like this. The bridge section of the tune here that's next sounds super massive, and that's all thanks to the majesty of octaves. Again, I think there's some studio magic going on right here. Initially, I thought he was maybe playing it with like, sliding octaves up here, but I think they're actually probably using like a pitch shift thing. Again, this could be a digitech whammy thing, because I know they're so fond of using those. Could be like a octaver pedal or something like that, or just a bunch of layers of guitars, who knows. But at its core, it sounds something like this. Really simple riff, and you gotta use those open strings to make it sound right. It doesn't sound the same if you play like that. You want that nice rub between those two notes that are a half step apart like that. Now the second half of the riff, again, features some open string stuff, and it sounds like maybe the second or third time they use the open second string like that. Again, that's just another one of those little nice variations they added in on the riff, maybe even spontaneously, just to make it sound more alive. I think that's really cool, but it doesn't sound like they do it every single time. It also sounds to me like whenever one of the guitars plays the second note of the riff, they've got that hitting a digitech whammy pedal set to yank it up an octave. That we get that big dramatic high F sharp note going on right there. That's something Gojira does in a lot of their riffs, so it wouldn't surprise me if that's what they're using in this case. So there you go, guys. Everything you need to know about that new Gojira tune and get to playing it lickety-split. Really cool song, nice and simple. It gets me excited to hear the rest of the record. Like the other two songs that they've already released, this song also features a lot of really cool, subtle things going on in the production that you don't typically hear on like big heavy metal records, you know? For example, during that intro riff, after the whole band kicks in, it sounds like they've overlaid the sound of like an anvil striking on top of every other snare hit, which I think is really cool. It kind of puts me in the mind of like the industrialization and deforestation and stuff going on in the Amazon, which of course fits the message of this tune perfectly. Also, if anybody knows the name of that instrument that we're hearing during the intro and outro of the song, please be sure to let me know in the comments section. I'd like to know what it is. Thanks a ton for watching. Be sure to grab those downloadable tabs over on my Patreon page at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. And again, there's a bonus video in there showing you guys how to get that perfect Gojira pick scrapes that I know you're gonna love. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for new content coming at you every single week, and ring the bell for notifications. It's been fun as always, but now it's time to go shred. Less clicking, more picking.